I think it's completely been wiped out. Like no one is going to their 21-year-old and saying, "Ab bas, shadi kar lo,
Yeah.
bahut saavli ho." You know, that's the kind of thing I heard growing up my whole life.
Did people comment on the color of your skin?
My mother, she was from UP, she was so fair. And she used to always say ki hi. Her sisters used to come over, my mausis, who I love, and say, Sindhu ke features bade achhe hain, lekin hi bichari kali reh gayi. And which was crazy because my dad is like Tamilian. He was like super dark. And I've said this on stage before. Are there any Tamilians here? Yeah. You know, Appa was so dark that Tamilians would see him and say, Pa, yanna karp. You know, to translate.
You have to translate
it's
this
like,
now.
oh my God, look at Captain Midnight over there. He's so dark. So how my mother expected me to be super fair, I don't know.
But how have you learned to laugh at this and convert it into material to make other people laugh?
I think because Barkha, when I was growing up,
Yeah.
I went to very good schools, girls' schools, co-ed schools in
Yeah.
India. Every girl heard something about her appearance and it was linked to her prospects in life. Sorry, I didn't realize it. You know what I mean? And so I didn't feel like I was being singled out. I felt like all my girlfriends, something about them would be brought up, either positive or negative, often
But
about their
you
marriage.
became this hugely successful comedian actor. There are girls who get left behind because of this complex.
Oh, yeah, and I think for sure, and I felt unattractive pretty much all through my 20s. I think what happened with me was that because my parents never said marriage comes before studies, I sort of achievemented myself out of my kind of dagmagatawa self-esteem when it came to my looks.
Yeah.
And I will say it's very hard if I had stayed back in India, I don't know how it would have worked. I just happened to get a scholarship to come here.
Why do you feel that it may have been
Because when I
different?
came here, everyone was like, oh my God, look at your tan. Here, it was like, seriously, I'm 5'10" and dark. In 90s India,
that sounds like a model to me.
Now, India mein who was then modeling at 5'10" and dark? Like literally nobody. So the point is, I think some things happened that helped me put it in the rear view. But I think India is different now, as in it's at least acknowledged that that's not something you say.
Sure.
Do you know? Yeah, it is.
Anyone here who's been through this, something similar, relatable?
Yeah.
You want to stand up? You're next to the mic. Yeah. Is there a mic there? Yeah. Go for it.
Hi, Sindhu. I'm Padma from South India. And like you, I'm also was married to an Englishman. He passed away. But I had a very similar experience to you. Yeah. I could study as much as I wanted. Same story, PhD, keep going, then come abroad and make a name for myself. And then they'll call you back, And then look at her, you should have done like her. Same story. Yeah.
And how have you dealt with it?
How did you deal with it? You had to be better than everybody else. You have to be one up on the men and the women back home.
Does that thank you for sharing that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Does that get exhausting?
I think what was exhausting in retrospect again was that it wasn't enough to be good. You had to be first.
Yeah.
You had to be first.
Yeah.
And I remember my mother, and again, I bring up my mother a lot because Mommy and I were very close, and she was very funny. For sure, if I am funny at all, it's because of her. But she had this very funny way of saying incredibly, ridiculously not nice things. She said to me when I started comedy, she was like, "Tum TV pe kab aogi? When will you be on TV?" And I said, "Why?" She said, "Look at Oprah." And I was like, "What are you talking about?" And she said, "What do you mean? She's still doing something. She also likes to be on." And then she said, and I say this, and I don't mean to offend anyone, but I gotta be honest. She said to me, "Wo to tumse bhi zyada saanvli hai."
Oh my God.
And I was like, "How can you bring that up?" And she said, "No, look, she's a billionaire. What are you doing?" And I was like, "Oh my God, this conversation." You always had to be first. You had to somehow make a mark no matter what. The thing that I really wish, I mean, you can't change the past, but the ability that I wish I had seen sooner so that I could have believed in myself a little bit more earlier is that you weren't allowed to do something out of the joy of it. If you were doing it, it was giving you joy, then what? Which is crazy because in the Bhagavad Gita, for example,
Yeah.
they're saying follow your passion and you'll get where you have to go. Somehow all of our parents only remember Bhagavad Gita when it's time to criticize us. But when it's time to actually look at their behavior, they don't remember it at all. Do you know what I mean? So I think that was one thing, was always, what are you doing with it? So what,
Yeah.
you're doing a PhD, but like, are you doing it at Harvard? Like, what? It was always like that.